Your money should work as hard as you do. Join us on Classic FM for a refreshing conversation on building, managing, and preserving wealth the smart way. From practical financial insights to expert perspectives that help you plan for today and secure tomorrow. This is a show that puts your financial future first. Tune in every Monday from 5:30 p.m. to 5:45 p.m. for this insightful wealth management program because informed decisions lead to lasting wealth.
That is indeed correct. Welcome to Wealth Management and You on Classic FM 97.3. My name is Chico, and joining us live in the studio, Raphael Emenyon. Good evening, Raphael.
Hi Chico, how you doing?
I'm not doing too badly. The topic on today's show is a review of the Nigerian market in the first quarter of 2026. That is part 2 of asking the question, should I hold my investment in Naira or dollar? Our guest today is Aliezer Joe Madugu. Joe, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Pleasant to be here.
Yes, it's great to have you here. Now, Aliezer is the Senior Portfolio Manager, ARM, Holding Company.
Correct.
That's right. So welcome again to the show. I'll hand over to you. We're all in a bit of a somber mood. As you can tell.
It was a black weekend for us. We lost one of our own. So we're playing a couple of tracks to honor him as well. He's a Biggie fan, so we'll be listening to some Notorious B.I.G. songs in the middle of the show. But Aliezer is here to take the conversation from where we stopped last week. But we'll start from the last question, that Chico mentioned. So Nigerians are thinking, in what currency should I hold my investments? Naira or dollars, with the way things are going? What's your take from where you say today?
Okay. I think that's a very good question. I think that's something, even at our desk, at the office, something that a lot of clients have been pondering about and reaching out to us to clarify. And, I think the reason why we're here, if you put in context, is because of how strong the Nigerian economy has, recovered from the 2023 lows, post-devaluation, where everybody was really worried. And now we're in an environment where the outlook for the Naira and the country is really stable. And so people are looking at their investment, you're getting way better return on investments in local currency, and with a stable environment, that's, for a lot of people, it's a no-brainer to stick to Nigerian investments right now.
Interesting.
Yeah. However, I like to say that, you can't always be interested in the short term, and it's just, I think, as a matter of precaution and even managing your risk, diversification is the number one thing that we preach in investment management. And so retaining, a majority of your assets in a currency that is historically volatile, bears its own risk. So obviously right now, the no-brainer is to capture the higher yields with the outlook for the Naira that's stable. But I would urge everyone to retain some exposure to FCY currencies to,
When you say FCY, you're talking about
foreign
currencies.
currency. So I think one
Chico is beginning to look at you. What are you talking about?
No, the reason I'm looking is because when you guys say this sort of thing, and I often say on the radio that if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, and sounds like a duck, it's probably a duck, and that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So it doesn't matter what kind of ingredients you tell me you have put in my pudding, and how you sell this pudding, I buy this pudding. If I eat that pudding and it doesn't taste nice, it's sour pudding, then it's sour pudding. The Nigerian economy has bounced back and but a loaf of bread is over 2,000 Naira. What I'd like that explained, because an egg, one single egg, is over 300 naira.
Yeah.
A tin of sardine is over 1,000 naira. And then I hear these things. I mean, I don't know, but I can assure you, there are Nigerians who have given up. They can't afford eggs, sardines. These things don't form part of their diet anymore. You know, so when they hear this, they're going to be wondering what planet you're talking about.
No, I think that's a very, very fair question. And this is the very first statement you made overall. Like, I'm a Nigerian, so I'm experiencing it myself. Seen basically the valuation of people's earnings over the past few years from the Naira devaluation, the debasement of people's earnings for the past few years over Naira devaluation, inflation. Even I think the inflation cycle started from 2020, so that's when we started seeing the first initial shock of high food inflation. And you know, there was a clip of a receipt that from 5 years ago.
I saw that.
Yeah. It was it was 39,000, and now it costs over 100,000
right.
for those same items. And these are everyday items, nothing spectacular there. So I think it would be difficult for any Nigerian to say they haven't felt the pain. But I don't want to sound maybe pro-government, but these are sacrifices we have to make if we want our future to be stable. These are, unfortunately, I think the previous administration, and which is somewhat the same administration, they put us in a situation where those hard choices had to be made, and we've paid the current Nigerians living there, and we're hoping to, you know, if you want to reap from the benefits of this thing, I think it's time to follow the Nigerian stock market has been doing very well to invest. So if you have any to invest, to reap from the sacrifices you've made and enjoy the stable outlook.
Okay. Okay, so what happens next? Those who have been decimated, you know, they kind of fall by the wayside, and then we all just make some sort of adjustment? Or is it that at some stage there'll be some dividend from this thing, which means prices come down again? Because it's across board, nothing is exempt, whether it's house rent, name it, all right? So there are people who cannot possibly make the adjustment. So they just become casualties of the system that we are adjusting to, and then those who can absorb the shock, somewhat increase their earnings, do so, and or is it that eventually the dividends mean prices then come down to what they used to be? Or is this our new reality and we just carry on this way and then the economy is stable?
I think it's a new reality, because things never calm down in this part of the world. But I mean, I'll leave it to you to.
No, unfortunately, what you're saying is true. When we're making these adjustments on a policy level, I don't think there's enough room made for the everyday Nigerian to see how can they be brought along this journey. I think it's left to the government to figure out how to accommodate Nigerians. But I'll say directly to each and everyone, I've lived this country all my life. I don't think anybody's coming to rescue you. So you just have to figure your way out of this. But it's very unfortunate, but it's the reality that we live in. It's the reality, unfortunately, the reality we live in.
Okay, all right. I am known as a bit of a pessimist when it comes to these things, and this is not a political show at all, and so it's not what we do. What we speak to is wealth management, and wealth management, a huge part of wealth management, as I know, is wealth creation. Because if you can create wealth, you've got to create wealth essentially first in order to manage anything at all. And I like to try to always remember the common man, the everyday man, and they are more in number than those who have liquid income. In fact, you know, I'm going to share something that I saw, something I found on social media. I took a picture for the express purpose of discussing it on this show. So let me try and find that very quickly, and I will read it to you. it said, the headline says, and I saw this on Naira metrics. It says 53% of Nigerians do not save due to priority issues, and this is according to a report. The PiggyVest Savings Report 2025, released in March 2026, found that 53% of Nigerians do not save, citing a lack of priority or discipline. The survey, which included 20,000 respondents across all 6 geopolitical zones, highlights a significant savings gap, especially amid rising inflation, which has impacted the cost of living across the board. The report suggests that many Nigerians continue to rely on informal saving methods and advocates for exploring more structured financial options to address this issue. What this simply speaks to is that if these people can't even save, they're not thinking about managing money and doing any kinds of investments whatsoever.
So I think from what you just read, there are 2 reasons there: priority and discipline. It could be either. When it comes to discipline, perhaps people don't have the information on what to do. And if it comes to priority, perhaps they don't even have disposable income. So that number, I think that number should be looked at further. To then ascertain. Yeah. But clearly, clearly there's an education problem, and there's a challenge. There's a challenge from the structural challenges within the nation as well. But it is what it is. So half of the citizens, but yeah, it is what it is.
Let's get back on track.
Anisa, you want to say something?
No, I just it's.
I saw that as well. I think it was sometime last week.
Again, I don't want to repeat and dwell on the despair, but it's the unfortunate reality of most Nigerians when you think about how high transports costs and feeding costs have basically grown exponentially over the past few years. Earnings are no, especially for the everyday man, are nowhere near matching that growth. So the ability to save has been severely impacted. And to take us back to the top in terms of the economy, the thing is ultimately not to dwell on despair. A stronger economy will benefit all Nigerians in the long term. It's just it's just the reality that the current set of Nigerians are bearing the brunt of that. And we have to hope that all the sacrifices we're making, are followed through to the end and we reap the dividends, and not necessarily in the form of lower prices but higher earnings. We want a stronger economy going to lead to higher earnings, and that's more opportunities for Nigerians, and that's what we ultimately want to see in the future.
Right. So very quickly, let's look at how the Nigerian market performed in Q1, and if there are any corporate events that we can also quickly look at.
Sure. I think we'll go over the Nigerian stock market in the first quarter. The Nigerian market has been very strong over the past 5 years. We've had multiple 50% years or close to that amount. And in Q1, the NGX 30 SI was around 30%, which is a strong return. At least you are beating inflation in the past couple of years if you are invested.
So what does that mean when you say, the NSI index was 30%? Does that mean if I had invested in any stock in the market between January and March, I would have been 30%? Or would that be an average expectation?
So you can say average, but the index is made up of over 150 stocks, and that is the performance of them combined. It was up 30%. Some segments of the market, the smaller cap names, they may have done well north of 50%. It's also market cap weighted, so
it's an average. It's an average expectation.
It's an average expectation.
Okay, all right.
Apologies. Yeah,
all right, that's fine. Okay, so any corporate events, dividends being paid? How do people, just try to educate Nigerians to understand?
Okay, so in terms of corporate actions that happen, given the rise in prices, over the past few years. You have it in inflation, but you also have it in the stock market. So stock prices have risen significantly over the past few years. The amount they pay out maybe hasn't increased as much. So there's a statistic called dividend yield, which is when a company has, at the end of the financial year, you release a result. Out of that result, its earnings are there. So if you had 50 naira in profits, you can say it's going to pay 10 naira in dividends. If that 10 naira over 50, that's 20%. So you have gotten 20% yield. That's it. So you say you get the 10 naira, and let's say you could buy it at the stock at 50 naira in the stock market. So that's a 20% yield. So 20% yield is healthy. We don't normally have that. The average yield in Nigerian markets somewhere around 5% historically. We're seeing it with the rate at price as stock prices have risen, and dividends haven't risen as much as fast across board. We see it declining. I haven't seen a number for Q1, but I'd imagine it will be closer to 4-3%. But one area that's held a bit steady is in the banking names. GT released its financials a few weeks ago for its full year 2025, and they declared record dividends of around 11 naira, in addition to interim dividend they paid. Prior to their yields about their total dividends about 13 naira, and the stock was trading around in the 120s one there. So you get it in the double digit yields, which I think is in this environment is very strong. So other segment of the market, the cement names, I would imagine the yields haven't been as strong, but maybe you're in a growth market and you're not so reliant on those corporate actions, but you're looking at the growth because of the price movement there has even been stronger. So it might not be a stock like Boa Cement, might not have been in there for the dividend yield, which is lower than 5%, but the upside from the stock price is done over 50% or 80% this year. So maybe it's not the way the market is moving, might not be the market will chase the dividend yield. You're looking at the growth. It's all about the growth, and stocks are growing fast even till now, even in the month of April.
All right. So in terms of
rich are getting richer.
yeah, the richer gets richer.
While the poor are getting poorer.
We're looking at the stability that you mentioned earlier. Has IMF ever said anything wrong about Nigeria? Because in the past
Has
1 week, IMF.
Okay.
Because in the past 1 week, there's been about 3 different things coming from IMF. With regards to the Nigerian economy, there's one that said there's one about downgrading the forecast growth. There was another one about our exposure in terms of our borrowings, in terms of servicing our debts. I think there's a third one. I can't remember what it was now. But I know there was.
I think it was about the banking capitalization.
Yes, that was what it was.
Yeah.
Have they ever said anything wrong about Nigeria in the history of IMF?
I think up until the current administration, IMF had been really critical about policies, even in the banking sector. But overall, the economy and our ability to make reforms, they've been advocating for some of these painful reforms that we are experiencing. The liberation of the exchange rate and the regulation of the oil and gas sector, which this government has, put that front burner, executed so far. So they've been pleasant, they've been, very happy with the performance. I think they released an indicator last year and it was all greens in terms of execution of IMF policy, desired policies. In terms of the banking sector, something they be critical about. They're also positive about the recapitalization exercise. Most of the banks were able, the commercial banks were able to recapitalize, even though it was a very challenging limit set by the CBN. In terms of the growth forecast, I think even though it came down, I think the shock of the oil and gas environment from the geopolitics happening in US, Israel, Iran, it's going to affect growth somewhat negatively, but still overall positive for Nigeria. 4.1% growth is at least, it's not where we should be, but it's still reasonably high that we've been over the past decade. and something we were able to achieve last year. And if we're able to maintain that momentum, I think that will come out. That's a good outcome for Nigeria. So I don't think they're necessarily negative on Nigeria. I think they're liking the reforms and we're executing, and I think there's still room for improvement. I'm sure they have some concerns, I said, on the external imbalances or concerns of growing external imbalances, foreign borrowing, and our ability to sustain our at comfortable levels our external imbalance, which I mean foreign borrowing versus your foreign income. That if you have more borrowing than your foreign borrowing versus foreign income, that's an imbalance. Yeah.
Okay. Do you see any positives around the budgets that the president just signed? Anything you want to?
I think a big concern in Nigerian budget is always like the debt servicing, or if I be frank here,
Yes, please.
I think those budget numbers, it's not about the what their government says is going to spend on capexes. How are they actually using these resources on the capital expenditure that they say they are using? I think there have been reporters stating recently, showing like, okay, they say they're going to spend this on capex. How much do they actually spend? I think those budget numbers are one thing, but the execution is a different game. I think that's somewhere we should be focusing on in terms of, as Nigerians, broadly determining accountability on capital expenditure, especially trying to, because that is something that will impact Nigerians, both of the present and future generations. And I don't think it's something the government has really executed enough on. And as I said, the budget numbers, their ability to live in our own reality, sometimes there's a huge divergence. So that's all I would say.
Right. There we have it.
We're gonna leave it there.
Yeah, for today, yes. We mentioned earlier that we need to. I mean, exactly 2 weeks ago, I was here with Temisa and we were talking about our usual Arsenal sports and all that, and sadly, Temisa is no more here with us. He departed the world on Thursday. And we just thought that we need to honor him at the show, because he's always here before the show. We get to talk a bit before we kick off the show. So we're playing a few biggie tracks, and at least our tradition as well is to usher you out of the show, with your classic song. So if you have anyone that you like us to play.
Sure. It's not quite in line with Notorious B.I.G., but it's still from the 90s era. So Kiss from a Rose by Seal.
Wow, I love that song too. Both songs lined up. We'll start with the Notorious B.I.G. Take a Break, and we'll be back with Seal and A Kiss from a Rose. Eliezer, thanks so much for coming through.
Thank you very much for having me.
This has been Wealth Management and You. It comes your way at 5:30 every Monday on Classic FM 97.3. Raphael Emenion is the main financial expert on the show, while I ride shotgun and I try to represent the common man, Team Paul. Let me just throw it straight out that Raphael is an Arsenal supporter, so do be kind to him.
I'm sure they'll win the trophy for Temisa. They have to do it for Temisa. Good evening, Lagos.